8 hours to paint the start collecting box? Can it be done? Let's find out. Hey guys, you're watching Squidmar Miniatures and I'm Emil and I've got a guest today.
Lukas.
Lucas was part of the Harry Potter challenge. I mean, Lucas was part of the 3 Painters challenge that we did like a month ago. I had an idea to bring him back because last year for a Fantasia Fanatic, the biggest Swedish Warhammer tournament, he did a Flesh Eater Corps army, painted that one in like 4 days, 3 days.
Yeah, it was like 3 days painting spread out over 17 days or something.
Yeah.
With assembly and purchasing and learning to play the army.
And that army was probably, if you ask me, top 3 armies on the tournament. That's like 140 people playing, I think. So that's quite a feat for like 26 hours or something,
yeah,
total of
like
painting for a complete army. So the idea was to bring out one of these boxes and see if Lukas can paint to that standard in less than 8 hours. That includes the lunch break we're taking.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be super fun to see. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, another challenge video. Yes, it's another challenge video because you love those. And also, we're going to show you exactly how he does it. So it's going to be equal amount tutorial to equal amount challenge.
Yeah.
So people are going to learn something, how you can reach like a super high level of army to seeing some good entertainment. I don't know, do you want to say something?
We cheated a bit. I assembled the miniatures last night.
This is an empty box.
Yeah.
So we have the miniatures here in the back. So we're gonna show you when we prime them, computer somewhere here, and then we do a time lapse on that camera, and then we film so you can see the process and hear his thoughts during the painting. Sorry, we're not Goobertown, we don't do the building in the same video, only painting, but we do it faster.
We start with these 3 colors. They are like the main components for the entire crew or the entire box. This Flesh Terror Red I will use for the wings and some hairy and gory stuff at the Terrorgeist. Darkoath Flesh we will use for all the skin parts on every model. Contrasts really well with the other colors. And we have Wildwood. I know some people don't like it because it's hella dark. It's almost black if you apply it wrong. I'll use that for all the bone parts, some skin where it meets some gory stuff.
But first we start with the priming. We start off by using the Chaos Black primer from Citadel and then do a Zenital Spray from above using the Grey Seer spray.
And take this slow. You don't want to rush this because then you'll just end up with like dripping paint and that won't work. So just take your time and work through this a couple of times and you'll get a much better result.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Time starts now.
So we will begin with the Darkoath Flesh and just cover up the entire ghoul. And then we'll move on from there.
And this step is really simple. You just use the Darkoath Flesh and place it evenly across the whole miniature on all of the regular skin areas. And this step is the same on all of the miniatures, whether it's the dragon or the tiny ghouls.
So, once you've covered the entire model with Darkoath Flesh, you'll move on to Raphael Flesh and do like some sort of Zenital dry brush with Raphael Flesh. Yeah, so I'll meet you guys when we're done with that.
And for this step, just make sure to dry brush everything that's raised towards the sky. This creates some sense of volume where the light would be hitting from above and leaves the areas underneath the figure in more of a shade. So do this to all of the figures, the dragons, the ghouls, and the rest of the guys too.
When you've dry brushed the entire model with the Zenital lighting with Raphael Flesh, we'll move on to putting some Wildwood onto the straps, the bones, and some other features you want to emphasize.
When doing this step with the contrast paints, make sure to not use a brand new expensive brush. Use something cheaper because the contrast paints have a tendency to fall into the ferrules and long time ruin the brushes.
So I've just finished the Wildwood. Now I'll move on to Carroburg Crimson and paint the scars. Everywhere the skin is like under tension, some gory parts around the facial areas, the claws, Carroburg Crimson.
And the miniatures are still looking a bit messy at this stage, but don't worry too much. This Carroburg Crimson wash really helps to bring some of the miniature parts to life, making sure that it feels like there have been blood flowing in these veins and now they've rotten.
I've just finished the Carroburg Crimson step. So on this model I have two more things to do. I'll paint the metal parts. We'll use lead belcher.
Just place one layer of lead belcher on all of the metal parts of the miniature.
Now I'll do the shading with Nuln Oil.
One layer of wash on all of those metal parts. What's happening?
We're taking a lunch break. Almost finished the 10 ghouls. Began painting the skin tones on the horrors.
6:28, so 1.5 hours.
I feel it's gone pretty good.
Yeah.
A little bit harder since I have to make sure we get everything on camera and so.
But yeah, looking good so far.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Get started again. How much time do we have? 5 hours, 27 minutes. So you had an hour lunch.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna start with the horrors now. Putting some rocker flesh with a kind of Zenital dry brush. Then we'll just move on from there. I haven't really painted any horrors. I only have flayers in my list. So these are like...
First time.
Yeah, first timers. Yet again, the same colors, just in different places. So.
At this stage, there's just a lot of repeating for Lukas, doing some of the steps we've already done, dry brushing the rest of the miniatures, adding that Carroburg Crimson wash to all of them. And in just a few seconds, we're gonna have some more details added to them. And this is the first highlighting step of the bigger creatures. He's doing this on the horrors and on his dragon. And what he's doing is he's using the paint Pallid Witch Flesh and just highlighting it with a normal brush on all of the raised muscles, all of the raised areas that we previously did the dry brush on. He's not doing this on the ghouls because he's got like 80 of them in his army, so he's just going for like the cooler creatures that he wants to put more focus on. So this is one of the more time-consuming steps of this painting process. So make sure to just spend a little bit more time to make sure that it all looks good. Only paint the raised areas that are up to the sky and leave the parts that are shaded or more underneath other parts that naturally would be shaded without this highlight. And that is the secret trick that gives his miniatures so much life, even though he just spends a little bit of time on them. And while the paints are drying, Lukas is using some Sterling mud from Citadel to create the texture and color of the base. And don't use a good brush for this, use something that you can throw away afterwards, like a stick or something.
I've just highlighted all the fleshy parts.
How much time do you have left?
1 hour 53 minutes. And now I'll move on to painting the red with Flesh Terror red. I'll be painting the wings, the muscles around the joints, the tongue. Yeah, I think that's all.
So just use a brush and go over all of these parts, the muscle areas and the wings, spread it evenly across those parts. And this can be one of those steps that takes a little bit more time as well. Make sure to be careful with this one because you don't want this paint to spill over to the other parts because that will be hard to save. It is now time to dry brush the wings, and Lukas is using Squig Orange for this, and use a big brush while you do this dry brush because you don't want to do like a local dry brushing, you want it to be across the whole wing parts to give that volume again to this part of the miniature. And now it's more dry brushing, just using Castellan Green, the same big brush, and dry brushing all of these ruins that he has on his base. This is one of the few steps that is done with a regular paintbrush, using the Squig Orange again to paint in some lines on the muscles to kind of reflect muscle tissue or something similar to that. So just painting some fine lines on all of the muscle areas.
And then I'll put it aside and paint the eyes, but for you guys I might show you that now.
A very simple yet effective way of painting eyes is just painting one small dot of Dorn Yellow on all of the miniature's eyes. Painting all of the rims black, of course. He had a few minutes extra to spare, so we decided to add a little bit of a highlight to some of the claws and the skulls on the miniatures using Steel Legion Drab. So you made it.
Yeah.
8 hours.
8 hours.
That's quite amazing for 8 hours. And I think like the total painting time was more like 6.
We went for lunch and we're away for like an hour.
The whole thing with like adjusting the cameras and pausing and having to adjust pretty much 6 hours. I still think this level is amazing. You forgot your tufts at home.
Yeah.
So you're bringing that and we're gonna film some close-ups of the stuff when you added the tufts. And I think it's totally fine to add it even though the 8 hours are past. And this whole thing just got me so inspired by watching someone else painting a whole army box in just 8 hours or even less than 8 hours. Yeah, he just added some tufts and this is how the army looks right now. It's just amazing how much detail they got in there by just using dry brush and a little bit of highlighting, and the contrast paints of course made such a huge difference. So after this whole video is done, in the end of it, after my talk and everything, I will have a time lapse so you can see the whole process time lapse in one go if you want to see that. And if you want to try this color scheme, we put all of the colors in the description, and I also link to Element Games again, so you can follow that link and pick up any of the colors you want if you live in Europe. If you live in the States, you can just go to the Amazon links, follow one of them, and anything you shop within 24 hours from following those links will give this channel a bit of a kickback as well. I would totally play with this army. Is it perfect?
No.
No? But is it like a really high tabletop level standard? Yeah.
Perhaps.
Perhaps. I think you just have weird expectations because you're such a good painter. I really enjoy this, and I had so much fun that you came here and showed all these people how a great painter you are. And I think people should go follow this guy on social media stuffs, Seth Miniatures on Instagram, and give him some love because he needs it.
Yeah, I do.
So guys, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something, because I definitely did. I'm gonna go out and buy some more contrast stuff, because I have a lot of miniatures that I need to finish in quite a pace. So if you like this video, don't forget to leave likes, subscribe if you want to see more hobby videos. I release one every week. If you enjoy my videos even more than that, I also have a Patreon page where you can go and support this channel. Donating a few dollars every month helps this channel keep running and make sure that I can do all of this stuff. Massive thanks to Russ Prentice, Evan Weston and Albin Åström, who are my top Patreon supporters. If you wonder about any of the gears used in this video, either for recording or for painting, or the stuff I use in any other video, I have all of them listed on my website, squidmar.com. On that website you can follow the links to Amazon, and if you do, they give a bit of a kickback to this channel, so it's a win-win. You support the channel, you get the stuff you need for painting, and everyone's happy. So with that said guys, have a great day. Bye.